The electric car market is full of options, but not all of them deserve your money. Some EVs are overpriced, unreliable, outdated, or all three at once. These 9 models are financial traps disguised as progress, and buying one in 2026 is a mistake you will regret for years. Number 9. Genesis GV60. Consumer Reports literally named the Genesis GV60 one of the 10 least reliable cars of 2026, giving it a reliability score of just 21 out of 100. And yet people are still walking into Genesis dealerships and signing paperwork on a vehicle that has been publicly flagged as a disaster. Starting at $54,000, the GV60 sits on the same eGMP platform that powers the Hyundai Ioniq 5 at $35,000 and the Kia EV6 at $39,000, meaning you are paying a $20,000 premium for a Genesis badge, slightly nicer leather, and significantly worse reliability. Consumer Reports expects the 2026 GV60 to be less reliable than the average new car, and the 3 most commonly reported problems are OTA software update failures that leave the vehicle stranded mid-update, 12-volt battery drain that completely bricks the car when parked, and range estimate inconsistencies that erode driver confidence on every trip. Genesis even issued a stop sale order on GV60 inventory due to screen malfunctions, which is a humiliating admission for a brand positioning itself against BMW and Mercedes. Depreciation is catastrophic. CarEdge projects 61% value loss after 5 years, meaning a $54,000 GV60 will be worth barely $25,000 in 2031. Used examples are already listed from $24,000, which tells you exactly how the market values this vehicle. Fewer than 1,800 units sold in the first half of 2026, a number so low it raises serious questions about long-term parts availability and dealer commitment. You can buy a better-built, more reliable, longer-range Ioniq 5 for $19,000 less and get the same platform, the same battery, and the same motors. Choosing the GV60 over its siblings is not a luxury decision. It is an uninformed one. Number 8. Polestar 2. The Polestar 2 looked brilliant on paper when it launched, but buying one in 2026 means volunteering for a depreciation nightmare, a service network that barely exists, and a brand whose financial survival is genuinely uncertain. Kelley Blue Book documents that a 2022 Polestar 2 has lost $13,000, or 41% of its value in just 3 years, and 5-year depreciation projections reach 58%. MyEV data from April 2026 shows average resale prices hovering around $20,000, meaning owners who paid $48,000 new are sitting on losses approaching $30,000. That is not depreciation, that is financial destruction. The service network is where the Polestar 2 truly punishes its owners. Polestar operates a tiny number of dedicated service centers across the United States, and owners on forums report being told the nearest service point is hundreds of miles away. One owner in the San Francisco Bay Area, which has one of the highest EV adoption rates in the country, noted that even that market has only 2 service locations, both overwhelmed with appointments. When your car needs warranty work and the nearest qualified technician is a 3-hour drive away, that is not ownership, that is a logistical punishment. Owners also report mirror motor failures, boot lid motor failures, seat heater malfunctions, and persistent software glitches that require dealer visits to resolve. Each visit means coordinating with a service network that was never built to handle real volume. Polestar's parent company, Geely, has repeatedly restructured the brand's finances, and the uncertainty surrounding Polestar's future raises uncomfortable questions about long-term software support, parts availability, and warranty honoring. Buying a car from a brand that might not exist in 5 years is a gamble no smart buyer should take when proven alternatives from Hyundai, Kia, and Tesla are sitting on the same dealer row. Number 7. Toyota bZ4X. Toyota is the most trusted automaker in America, And the BZ4X is proof that brand loyalty can blind people into buying a genuinely mediocre electric vehicle that would be laughed off any competitive comparison test. The original 2023 BZ4X debuted with a recall so catastrophic that the wheels could fall off while driving, forcing Toyota to issue a stop sale order and buy back vehicles from horrified owners. That alone should have permanently disqualified this nameplate, but Toyota rebranded it as the BZ for 2026, slapped on a $34,000 price tag, and hoped everyone would forget. They should not. Inside EVs documented that the BZ4X charges painfully slowly compared to 800-volt competitors, and the charging curve drops so aggressively after initial peaks that real-world fast-charging sessions take significantly longer than the specification sheet implies. Efficiency falls roughly 25% below Toyota's own claims when climate control is engaged, which means the advertised range is essentially a fantasy number during summer or winter. NHTSA records show 33 owner complaints and 9 safety recalls across the 2023 through 2025 model years, with the electrical system being the most frequently reported problem area. Even the revised 2026 model launched with a software recall that reinforced the pattern of a vehicle Toyota rushed to market before it was truly finished. The interior is uninspiring. The infotainment system is clunky compared to Hyundai and Tesla alternatives, and the driving experience feels like Toyota checked boxes rather than pursuing excellence. For the same money, you can buy a Chevrolet Equinox EV with 356 miles of real-world range, or a Hyundai Ioniq 5 with 800-volt fast charging and a 10-year warranty. Buying the BZ4X because you trust Toyota is not loyalty, it is ignoring evidence. Number 6. Mazda MX-30. The Mazda MX-30 is not just a bad electric car. It is arguably the single worst product decision any major automaker has made in the 21st century, and anyone who bought one new paid premium money for a vehicle that was obsolete the day it left the factory. Priced at roughly $34,000 when it launched, the MX-30 delivered an EPA-estimated range of just 100 miles from a pathetically small 35 kilowatt-hour battery. 100 miles. In an era when the Chevrolet Bolt offered 259 miles for less money, and the Hyundai Kona Electric delivered 261 miles at a comparable price, Mazda shipped a vehicle that could not reliably complete a round trip to a neighboring city without stopping to charge. Cold weather, highway speeds, or running the air conditioning could drop that 100-mile range into the 70s, creating genuine anxiety on trips that every other EV handles without a second thought. Mazda compounded the range humiliation with its bizarre freestyle rear doors, which are rear-hinged half-doors that only open when the front doors are already open. Installing a child seat, loading cargo, or letting rear passengers exit in a tight parking spot becomes a ridiculous multi-step process that no other vehicle on the market inflicts on its owner. Owners also reported phantom charging cable detection errors that locked all 4 brakes while driving, creating a legitimately dangerous situation. Mazda claimed the small battery was an environmental choice, but the market saw through that excuse immediately. The MX-30 was killed after just 2 years in the United States due to dismal sales. It is now a discontinued orphan with declining parts support and no future updates. Anyone who paid $35,000 for 100 miles of range did not buy a car. They bought a very expensive lesson in doing basic research before signing a contract. Number 5. Nissan Leaf. Wait, the Nissan Leaf on a worst list. Before you scroll past in confusion, understand that this entry is specifically about the people still paying near-sticker prices for the 2024 and 2025 Leaf, the old hatchback model that Nissan was desperately clearing out while the completely redesigned 2026 crossover was already on the horizon. The previous generation Leaf was a slow-charging, range-limited hatchback with a maximum EPA range of around 212 miles. No active thermal management for the battery in most configurations, and a ADEM mode charging port that was incompatible with the CCS and NACS networks dominating public infrastructure. Buyers who purchased these clearance models in late 2024 and early 2025, often paying $25,000 or more, essentially bought a vehicle that was technologically obsolete the moment the 2026 model was announced with 303 miles of range, DC fast charging standard, and a modern NACS connector. Depreciation on those older Leafs has been savage, with used values plummeting as buyers correctly migrated toward the redesigned model. The old Leaf's lack of battery thermal management meant that owners in hot climates experienced accelerated battery degradation, with some reporting significant capacity loss within 3 to 4 years of ownership. That is a problem you simply do not face with any modern competitor. The HDMI port meant that finding a compatible fast charger was increasingly difficult as networks converted to CCS and NACS, leaving old Leaf owners stranded at stations with the wrong plug. The lesson here is not that the Leaf nameplate is bad. The 2026 model is genuinely excellent. The lesson is that buying an outgoing model of anything, especially an EV with rapidly evolving technology, without researching what is coming next is a mistake that costs real money. Number 4. Tesla Cybertruck. The Tesla Cybertruck has accumulated 11 NHTSA recalls in barely 2 years of production, and the list of documented failures reads like a greatest hits album of engineering catastrophe that should make any rational buyer run in the opposite direction. Recall number 1 covered accelerator pedals that could physically dislodge and pin themselves to the floor, causing uncontrolled acceleration. Recall number 2 addressed exterior stainless steel panels that could detach from the vehicle while driving on the highway. Another recall covered brake rotor stud holes that could crack and allow the wheel to separate from the truck. Yet another addressed a battery pack contactor defect caused by a faulty solenoid that could suddenly fail and kill drive power without warning. Starting at $79,000, which is double the $39,000 base price originally promised, the Cybertruck now costs more than many luxury SUVs while delivering build quality that owners have documented in painful detail on social media. Panel gaps wide enough to fit fingers through, orange peel texture on the stainless steel rust-colored discoloration that appears after exposure to rain, and interior rattles that emerge within the first few thousand miles are all widely reported. Sales crashed to roughly 20,000 units in 2025, a fraction of what Tesla projected. The Cybertruck is a statement piece for people willing to pay $80,000 to become a beta tester. Number 3. Volkswagen ID.4. Consumer Reports named the Volkswagen ID.4 the least reliable vehicle in its entire database, and yet Volkswagen continues to ask $45,000 for a crossover that competitors like the Chevrolet Equinox EV and Hyundai Ioniq 5 outperform in virtually every measurable category at significantly lower prices. The ID.4's infotainment system has been a disaster since launch, with early models shipping with software so broken that basic functions took minutes to load, climate controls buried in touchscreen menus were nearly impossible to use while driving, and smartphone integration failed with maddening regularity. Volkswagen has pushed update after update to address these problems, but owners on the VW ID Talk forums report that each new software version fixes some bugs while creating others, trapping owners in an endless cycle of frustration. DC fast charging peaks at 175 kilowatts on paper, but the charging curve drops off so aggressively that real-world sessions are significantly slower than what the specifications suggest. The EPA-rated range of 291 miles in rear-wheel drive falls to just 263 with all-wheel drive, and winter performance degrades sharply, leaving owners in cold climates with far less usable range than advertised. Consumer Reports specifically flagged the electric vehicle battery, drive system, brakes, and in-car electronics as major trouble areas. Volkswagen even halted U.S. production of the ID.4, raising uncomfortable questions about the company's commitment to the platform and the long-term availability of parts and support. Depreciation has been punishing, with Volkswagen slashing prices and stacking incentives to move stagnant dealer inventory, which only accelerates value loss for existing owners. For $45,000, you can buy an Ioniq 5 with 800-volt charging, a 10-year warranty and Consumer Reports recommendation, or an Equinox EV with 356 miles of real-world range for $10,000 less. Choosing the ID.4 over either of those alternatives is not a matter of preference. It is a failure of basic comparison shopping. Number 2. Mercedes EQS. The Mercedes-Benz EQS has lost over $80,000 in value in 3 years, making it statistically the single worst financial investment in the entire automotive market. And the people who bought one new at full sticker price have watched their money evaporate at a rate that should be studied in business schools as a cautionary tale. Originally priced at $118,000 or more depending on options, the EQS lost 48% of its average new price after just 1 year according to market data, equal to roughly $65,000 in 12 months of depreciation. Kelley Blue Book projects the AMG EQS variant to lose approximately $95,000 over 5 years, which means the depreciation alone costs more than most new cars. Used EQS sedans are now available for $40,000 to $50,000, which makes them look like bargains until you realize that anyone who bought new has been financially devastated. The fundamental problem is that Mercedes priced the EQS as a competitor to the S-Class without delivering S-Class levels of demand, exclusivity, or emotional attachment. The EV market moves fast, and a 3-year-old electric Mercedes with yesterday's charging technology and range figures cannot hold its value against newer competitors that cost half as much and charge twice as fast. The Hyperscreen interior is visually stunning, but owners report software glitches, unresponsive touch controls, and ergonomic frustrations that undermine the luxury experience. Repair costs are astronomical when something goes wrong outside of warranty, and Mercedes dealer labor rates ensure that even minor issues generate eye-watering invoices. The EQS is a genuinely beautiful car that drives wonderfully, but beauty does not offset an $80,000 depreciation hit. Buying one new at full price when the entire market knows these values are in freefall is not luxury. Number 1. Audi Q4 e-tron. The Audi Q4 e-tron is the electric car that proves a premium badge can convince otherwise intelligent people to spend $50,000 on a vehicle they could functionally replicate for $15,000 to $20,000 less. And the ownership experience confirms that the premium you paid bought you nothing but regret. Starting at $50,000, the Q4 e-tron competes directly against the Hyundai Ioniq 5 at $35,000 and the Chevrolet Equinox EV at $34,000, both of which offer more range, faster charging, better warranties, and stronger reliability records. One Edmunds owner review titled their experience with Audi simply as buying one being the worst decision of their life, citing electrical problems, software failures, and a dealer network that could not resolve persistent issues. The Q4 e-tron's software has been a recurring nightmare, with owners on the e-tron forum reporting charging problems triggered by the car's own scheduling system, sudden drops in charging speed that no dealer can explain, and an infotainment interface that Edmunds reviewers described as having poor software support after purchase. CarEdge projects 56% depreciation after 5 years, meaning a $50,000 Q4 e-tron will be worth roughly $24,000 in 2031. That is a $26,000 loss on a vehicle that was never the best option in its class at any point during its existence. The 12-volt battery has been a documented failure point, with owners reporting replacement needs well within the warranty period. DC fast charging peaks at just 175 kilowatts, which is slower than the 800-volt competitors from Hyundai and Kia that cost thousands less. VW Credit reportedly holds more Q4 inventory than Audi dealers can actually sell, confirming that even the market itself has figured out what buyers paying sticker price have not. The Audi badge is the only thing the Q4 e-tron offers that its cheaper competitors do not. And in 2026, that badge costs $20,000 and buys you absolutely nothing. And with this, we have reached the end of this video. Make sure to like it and subscribe the channel for future upcoming videos.